Hey, I'm Rick Chapo with DMCAagentservice.com. Today we're looking at another DMCA topic, DMCA and revenge porn. And yes, revenge porn is a very nasty subject. So what we're really talking about here is, can you use the DMCA to get revenge porn taken down? And the answer is yes, which is obviously good news because revenge porn is some nasty, nasty stuff. So, what is revenge porn? Well, it's kind of a creation of our digital world. In the 1970s, you really didn't have this stuff, certainly not on a wide scale, because it wasn't really easy to create pornography. You needed to, really kind of have almost a commercial business to do so. But these days, of course, the world has changed. We have smartphones and webcams and what have you. And in situations where we have a couple, maybe the couple is not physically together, maybe they're, one's traveling, or maybe they're just, in other locations for whatever reason, they will often take intimate photos or videos of themselves and send them to the other person. And nothing wrong with that. Certainly, I've had friends who are in the military who would get stationed, halfway across the world, and they and their significant others would exchange this kind of content. And you can certainly understand why, because obviously, sexual relations are part of most relationships. So it is what it is, as they say. Now, unfortunately, revenge porn is when one of those relationships falls apart, and one of the parties is very unhappy, and to get revenge on the other one and to humiliate the other person, they go out and they post intimate photos or videos of that person without their consent on the web. And they might post them on, a site like Pornhub or RedTube. These are adult sites. They have adult content on them, and they allow submissions from individual parties. Now, the intent of these companies, of these websites, is for the submissions to be made by pornography companies that have shot films and things of that sort, and these companies will then submit like a short trailer or a short, cut of the movie. And the idea is then that people who watch it will want to watch more. They'll click on the link associated with the video and go to a website somewhere where they can see the whole movie and, of course, pay for it. But the interesting thing has happened is a lot of amateurs will now upload their own content as well. It's kind of crazy. So anyways, so these sites have a lot of submissions, and it doesn't even have to be an adult site. There could be other, community boards, forums, things like that. But these people will post your images wherever there's going to be a lot of people able to see it. And, they're trying to humiliate you. Now, there was a study done in, 4 or 5 years ago, and they were looking at revenge porn, and they found that roughly, 70 to 80% of all the images that were exchanged and videos were of the category of selfies, meaning that the person that is in the photo or in the video is the person actually creating it. So they might have their smartphone and taking a picture of themselves or shooting a video of themselves doing something of that sort. It's a very private moment, obviously. So the interesting aspect of that from a copyright perspective is that if you shoot your own video or your own image, well, you created it. You're the copyright owner of it. That means that you have all the rights associated with, the copyright. So if, Microsoft creates a new software program and they copyright the code, well, you have all the rights that Microsoft has to that code in relation to copyright, in your own images or video. Now, that's important. We'll talk about why in just a second, but I have to tell you kind of a funny story. And you would think in a revenge porn video, there wouldn't be any funny stories, but this one actually is. California passed one of the initial revenge porn laws. This was maybe 10 years ago or so. And since nobody obviously was against or was for revenge porn and wanted to keep it legal, it appears as though nobody really actually read the law. And so it passed, and then people started looking at it, and it had an interesting exemption in it. It exempted selfies from the criminal penalties. So we just talked about that study that says 70 to 80% of all content in revenge porn consists of selfies, either selfie videos or selfie images. And so California had passed an anti-revenge porn law that exempted up to 80% of all the cases the law was intended to go after. So kind of tells you a lot about the political process, doesn't it? Now, obviously, they went back about a year later and, got rid of the exemption. So the law actually had some value. But nonetheless, very interesting. Okay. you have your selfies, you have your selfie video, your selfie image. How does the DMCA help you? Well, under the DMCA, you can go to the websites or the apps where the content has been posted, where the revenge porn has been posted, and you can submit what's called a DMCA takedown notice. And when you submit them to these platforms, the platforms have to respond expeditiously, which typically means 24 to 48 hours. And so they're going to get the complaint. They're going to see you're asserting copyright, and they're going to go and take that image or that video down. They do it automatically as part of the DMCA. And if they don't, then they waive their immunity under the DMCA. So these sites and apps, they have immunity from copyright infringement complaints based on content uploaded by users. And so they're going to want to comply with this law, because if they don't, then they lose that immunity. So you submit your DMCA takedown notice. Somebody there gets it. They look at it. They take the image or the video down, and then and they're going to do that in 24 to 48 hours. And then they're going to send a notice to the person who posted it saying, hey, we received a copyright complaint regarding this content, and we've taken it down. And at that point, that person can then file a counter notice, which they rarely do, saying, no, I have the right to use this content, and they're going to have to explain why. They're also going to have to submit to federal court for a lawsuit, and they're going to have to give up a certain amount of private information. Now, as you can imagine, most people aren't going to do that because they don't want to reveal that kind of information. They don't want to submit to jurisdiction in a federal court for a lawsuit and these kinds of things. In revenge porn, sometimes it'll happen, sometimes it won't. But in most cases, or at least in a lot of cases, you're going to be able to get the offending content taken down in 24 to 48 hours. Now, I realize if there are nude photos or videos of you out there, that sounds like a long time. But the law doesn't move all that quick, and it's actually, a pretty short time. It also doesn't cost you anything. So, you're not going to be racking up legal fees. Now, you can, of course, go get a lawyer, and then you would go to court and you would move for temporary restraining orders and injunctions and things of this sort to try to get the sites to take down the content. But you're going to have to serve all of that on those sites. Those sites are going to have to give it to their lawyers and try to figure out, what they're supposed to do and not do, and this, that, and the other. And your legal fees are going up, 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 up. And, there you are. Now, a side effect of the DMCA is that you can also go ahead because now where the content is, and that somebody posted it. You're pretty sure you know who, but you need evidence of that. So you can go ahead and submit subpoenas to those companies. Now, you're going to need a lawyer for this. But you submit subpoenas to these companies, and they're going to have to divulge the information about who posted it. Now, some of them may fight it. They may fight that on privacy grounds, which is somewhat ironic. But if they do that, then you want to go to newspapers and you want to call journalists and say, hey, these websites are trying to protect revenge posters, revenge porn posters. And how do you think that's going to look? One, the journalists are going to love it. They're going to eat it up. And two, that company's going to get so much bad publicity that I'm pretty sure they're going to start turning over that content as quickly as possible. So you have, this benefit. So the DMCA can be very, very effective in dealing with revenge porn. Is it perfect? No, it is not. And there are a couple of reasons. So the content at issue, remember, you only have the copyright ownership to it if you created it. If the other person took the photo or the video of you, then you don't have copyright. They do, because they're the ones that are doing the act. They're creating that content. And so a DMCA takedown notice could not be filed in that situation. Second problem that you have is even if you get the content taken down on these sites, there's no guarantee that person isn't going to go and try and post the content on other sites. And so you end up with a certain whack-a-mole situation where, you're trying to follow them around and get it taken down. And, that can be ongoing for a bit. But the more they do it, the more problems they're going to have when the police show up and, when you get and start suing them in court. And that's an important thing that I want to point out. Somebody posts images of you naked online. It's easy to crawl into a hole. Don't. They win if you do that. So don't. Get aggressive. Go after them. If it means going and hiring a lawyer to do it, then do it. But, rain hell down upon them. Now I'm talking about legal channels. Don't go, do something crazy. But legally, use the DMCA. Go hire an attorney. Sue them. Get the police involved. Take all those steps. Don't crawl into a hole because, again, that you're allowing them to win. get out there and get aggressive about it, and turn it back on them, because nobody really deserves to go through something like revenge porn. It's just nasty. So be aggressive with it. That would be my practical advice for the day. Don't let them win. So anyways, can you use the DMCA for revenge porn? Yes, you can. Follow the steps indicated in here, and you can have a good chance of getting a good bit of the content taken down. Is it perfect? No, but it's a very, very good start. And in fact, we've seen some people use it in the past, including some celebrities who used it, who were able to make good headway in getting their content taken down. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, have yourself a good one.